Hey, how you doing? My name is Michael Lasco. This is going to be our introduction to our pilot to Bridgewater Acura Car Talk. We've got Patrick Colello here from Pat. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My company is called Vintage Culture. We are the designers and manufacturers and producers of vintage Honda apparel.
So, other than being friends, we're both Honda Acura collectors and fanatics. So, we've been talking for a long time about the Honda culture, the Acura culture. The direction in which it's going. These were cars that were originally just utilitarian, basic forms of transportation, and now they're becoming, ultra collectible, ultra valuable, and the direction in which the culture and the cars are going are completely different. So,
and I think it stems from the fact that they're great cars.
Totally,
they're great cars. It's a great, engaging driving experience, and they're incredible engineering marvels, and that's probably why we really.
So obviously Pat and I are both Acura NSX owners. I own a 1999 Zanardi Coupe, number 24. Currently has around 30,000 miles on it. Pat, you have
a 25,000 mile Berlina Black 91 NSX with ivory interior.
And sitting on fantastic Pro Drive rims, which really accentuate the later 97 and up. The blade style rims, obviously a +1 size, really makes the car, kind of like how I feel as though the car should have been designed from the beginning. But yeah, really cool story how I found my car. My dad was actually having some sort of a surgery done at a hospital in New York. And, walking through the parking lot to go see him before the surgery starts, and out of the corner of my eye, I see just a red, looked like a Ferrari or Corvette. I didn't know what it was, but I started walking over to it, and lo and behold, it was a Zanardi Coupe, which I had probably seen one of, let alone just hanging out in a parking lot.
I think yours is the only one I've ever seen in person.
Yeah, I had only seen one, I think, at an NS Expo, and it was funny because, the car was filthy. All 4 rims were scratched. It was, like not how you'd expect a Zanardi NSX to be
rare
presented.
car.
Yeah, it was so
right.
Crazy rare. So long story short, my dad comes out of surgery, and I was there with my brother, and we're like, how cool is this? We saw this Zanardi Coupe. The surgeon comes out with the scrubs on, goes into his pocket like this, takes the keys, throws them at me, and he goes, "Who's the NSX guru? Take this thing for a ride, let me know what you think."
Wow.
So, my brother had a 2002 NSX at the time. I had a supercharged 92. Of course, my dad just got out of surgery driving an NSX and out in Long Island where I didn't know the area, wasn't tops of my list. But I said to the guy, to the doctor, if you're ever looking to sell it, give me a call, let me know. So, we kept in touch over the years. I actually went out there once to buy it. He turned me away. He sentimental, couldn't sell it. I went back to
so you went out there, said I'll sell it, and he changed his mind
I went
when
out
he got there?
with a check, ready to take the car home. 3-hour ride with my dad.
You should have known you were in for trouble right then and there.
Should have known I was in for trouble, and anyways, he got a little bit choked up and said, unfortunately, I can't do it. Wound up calling me a couple years later. I went back again. I said, let's make sure I'm driving home in the car. I don't want to get all, So lo and behold, one thing led to another, and I've been the custodian of the car since 2008, if I'm not mistaken. But I know you had an interesting story about yours.
But are we missing one of the things that led to another? That's with that story.
Well, I had the supercharged 92 at the time, and I had both of them together. But once I had the Zanardi, I started putting miles on my Comptech supercharged 92, but I just didn't stir the soul, so to say, as the Zanardi did. It was just the most, luckily being here, I've had the privilege of driving everything.
Right.
But just something about that car, its simplicity, it's it's gorgeous, the design, the look, it's just, to me, that's just the most amazing car of all time. And NSXs in general.
Yeah,
the
for
silhouettes,
sure. For sure.
timeless.
For sure.
And they're amazing. And, it's part of what drew me in the beginning was, here you have this car that looks like a Ferrari. And remember when the NSX came out, put everyone on watch.
Well, few people know that the original design of the NSX was done by Pininfarina.
Correct.
Which is the styling studio that styled, probably up at that point, every Ferrari, just about every Ferrari ever made.
And really, a wake-up call to Ferrari, because, the thing that the NSX had that Ferrari didn't was reliability.
Right. I think you could arguably say that the NSX single-handedly changed the supercar market.
100%. I mean, think about it. Porsche turbos were temperamental. Early ones with that big turbo, and drivability was just insane.
Yeah.
I mean, progressing to, all-wheel drive, twin turbo formats, more of a, user-capable type vehicle, that's a page right out of the Acura book.
Sure, absolutely.
Cars that are functional, that follow form, and just ease of ownership was just
And to talk about the collector car market just for 1 second, I think that's part of the reason why the Japanese collector car market's really going to take off, because collector cars are often driven, you know, every 3 weeks on a Saturday. It's put away for so the collector can take the car out and not have to, you know, spend $1,000 at a shop getting
100%.
it up and running, and
100%.
they can just put the key in and turn it because it's a Honda.
You heard the story of how I purchased my NSX. Pat, tell us about how you found yours, which is really cool.
So I purchased my NSX. It was the first car I ever purchased, sight unseen. I believe I've purchased maybe 4 or 5 now, sight unseen. But it was back in the earlier days of online classifieds. There was a website called Classifieds 2000, and this was in the probably like 98, 99 time frame, where not everyone in the world knew about internet classifieds.
You're saying there was no bring a trailer?
There was no bring a trailer yet. So I would spend the first, I'd get into work early, and I'd spend the first like 30 minutes of work just searching every online classified site. And I was particularly looking for a black NSX with like 5,000 miles or less. I wanted to be a perfect, essentially brand new car. And there was a website called Classifieds 2000. I came across this car, and I would search every single day. So it just popped up. I called the number. They said, "I'm sorry, somebody called." They said they want the car. It's like a Tuesday. They said they only want to come. They're going to come by on. The car's in California. It's in San Diego. They say, "We want to come by on Saturday." It's like a Tuesday. Take it to the local dealer, have them look at it, approve it. I said, "Listen, I'll FedEx you $10,000 deposit right now, sight unseen." The guy says, "Sure." So I FedEx the check.
And if I remember correctly, not to cut you off, you had a friend of yours from art school look at the car.
Who knows nothing about cars.
She
She's
knew
trying
nothing.
to describe it.
She knew nothing.
So it turns out this car was purchased. The fella paid. It was one of the first NSXs purchased in the fall of '90.
So a very early model.
2,997 miles. He drove it for 1 month and then parked it. And then every 6 months he'd have it flatbedded to the dealership to have the oil changed. So it was in a climate control garage. And I think he just had a little bit of dust in the paint, tiny bit, so it wasn't shiny. So all I did was hand polish it, and it was a brand new car.
Awesome.
It was phenomenal.
Totally
So I've
awesome.
had a 2,997 miles. There's 25,000 miles on it now,
Really
19
cool.
years later.
Really cool. And so the NSX
Almost,
shared.
it's 20 years later, actually.
So tell us about what else that NSX shares the garage with, because I feel as though I'm insane with just a couple S2000s along with my NSX. You kind of take that and go a little bit overboard.
I don't know if overboard. I mean, I have a very kind wife who's very generous, and she doesn't complain about my cars. But so I have my very first car was a 1988 Honda CRX, and it's the reason why I became a Honda person, because that car was so well engineered. They were very incredibly advanced from a technological standpoint at that time.
And you just recently sold an amazing CRX SI on Bring a Trailer.
I did an original, super original, 50,000 mile, 88 spectacular car.
Guys, moral of the story on this one, he's mentioned on a weekly, monthly basis. Should have never sold it. Wish he had it back. Don't get rid of your cars. Don't ever sell. We're hoarders. We're hoarders.
That's part of the reason why I have so many cars. Is I'm afraid I'm going to say that one day.
So we have the.
So I have a 90 Mugen CRX. I have a 2001 Honda S2000 with 20,000 miles.
Sure.
What else do I have? I have a
original Type R.
I have a '97 Integra Type R.
What serial number is that?
I don't know. It's like 70,000 mile car that just underwent a full
Guys, that's the problem you want out there when you have so many cars. You don't know the serial number of your '97 Type R.
Yeah, I don't know. They only made 300, so it's one of the 300. So that is a marvelous car and an absolute joy to drive.
Now, me and you differ on this. Don't shoot me and continue to watch this podcast and listen. I'm a front wheel drive hater. All right, I hope we continue this conversation in an amicable fashion.
So I'm going to say is that car, the balance on that car is spectacular.
Yeah.
Even though it does not feel like a front driver, and it's one of the few cars I have where the suspension's unaltered because it's just done so right.
Still not changing my mind. Funny thing about myself, I've worked here since for 18 years now. It's 2019. In 2001, when I started here, there was a yellow Integra Type R sitting on the showroom floor. I was a young kid I was 22, 23 at the time. I said to the general manager of the store, I said, "Listen, there's a yellow Integra sitting on the showroom floor. It looks like it's been there forever." I said, "You care if I take that as my demo?" One of the perks of the job that, let you drive a car. I was driving a 2002 or an 03 TL Type S at the time. And he said, "You know what? If you want to drive that yellow thing, knock yourself out." popped it right off the showroom floor. You know, I drove it till it had probably like 5,000 miles. And you know, it was cool for what it was, but I've gone through bouts of nostalgia where, you know, I've bought and, you know, that car that I had when I was younger, I think they call it the Taproot car.
Right.
And it's just, I don't relive that memory. I had the, you know, a 944 turbo. I didn't love it. A Talon turbo all-wheel drive. You know, all cars I had when I was younger that I thought that, you know, if I bought again, I'd, you know, remember those like interesting times of my life or relive those memories. And they did nothing.
See, what I think striking about that car is the lightness is so obvious in that car. It just feels so light and nimble. And the second piece is the visibility in that car. It's unbelievable because it's pre-rollover regulations, and the, you know, the A pillar is so thin, the C pillar is so thin. And it just feels so good and so light and so airy.
Also, talk about what that car is.
And you can chuck it around.
If you are a front-wheel drive guy and you are a Honda and Acura fanatic, like we both are, that's the holy grail of front-wheel drive cars, and possibly the holy grail of, you know, the golden era Honda and Acura. It was great having you here.
Michael, thanks for having me. I appreciate that.
Hopefully you guys like this. I'm thinking this could become a weekly thing. As you see, we're very, very passionate about Honda and Acura.
Well, we talk all week on the phone. We might as well sit in front of the camera.
It's funny, you're texting me at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. My wife's like, who's texting you at this hour? I'm like, it's Pat. You don't know what just popped up on Bring a Trailer. But, you know, they're cool cars. We're enthusiastic about it. We hope you are as well. I've got tons of great topics and things to go, you know, to talk about, and just, I mean, stay tuned.
And in future episodes, maybe you can see our cars.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll bring the cars here, and thanks for tuning in.